said, this is Vanita Joy. She joined our district back in November 8th. And has certainly hit the ground running. She joins us from Mount Pleasant, where she was in a similar position, and different district, same stuff. And,
different district, same position. Yeah.
Same position. So she's going to walk us through the technology budget. This is her first budget with us, so I know Enrique is going to jump in on some of the items just from a historical standpoint. But Anita, if you want to walk us through this, and then we'll get to some questions at the end.
Great, thank you. So my first presentation, and thank you for all of your support. It's been great working in this district for the last 5 months. So you will see the budget goals for next year's proposed budget is mostly built on keeping our current infrastructure and our initiatives in place and adding more security and safety for our staff and students, and also more redundancy for our network and infrastructure. For the last 5 years, there's a snapshot of what we've been spending our lease money, or most of our technology hardware budget, and also the lease that we have every year. This summer, we're going to be concentrating on the high school teacher stations, workstations, and desktops. All of our 3 elementary schools are due for a interactive panel replacements. Our middle school, there's 2 computer labs that we still have, Project Lead the Way computer lab, and also our Photoshop computer lab. Because of COVID, we've been put behind on our replacement cycle on desktops and computers in the classroom. So that's why we're doing some high school, all of high school, and 2 of the computer labs at the high school. The next slide, this is not something I know usually you see on the budget presentations, but I wanted to show you before COVID, or 2019-2020 is when we entered the COVID year. You can see how many Helpdesk tickets that we created compared to what we closed last year, doubled. And the last column is actually the projection of, as of December, how many tickets that were opened and closed. So we're anticipating definitely a lot more than 10,000 by the end of the year. The hardware budget is usually used for emergency. For any emergencies like a smart panel going out and it's not under warranty, replacing that, or if we had a server. We had an instance this year with the UPS going out, and it wasn't budgeted for. It was an emergency replacement that we had to do. Most of our planned replacements are through our lease, through the lease that we get every year. So the hardware budget is actually going down by about 20,000, because when I'm putting the lease together, I'm actually anticipating and putting a little bit buffer on building in that extra computers that we would need based on what I'm seeing on this year's budget. I'll keep going, and maybe the questions could be at the end. Contractual is the biggest line item that technology has. This is where all of our contracts are. The main one with First Light or Best Web, our ISP, our phones, our fax services, the technology support staff that we have is through Edutech. So you will see that there's an increase for 1 engineer on that line item because of the Helpdesk Tickets you already saw, but at the same time we have a lot of EdLaw 2D compliant. We have a NIST framework that we are adopting this year, which is a national standard for cybersecurity. You probably heard of a lot of, cyber attacks, malware, phishing attacks that are happening around our districts. So this is really to support that infrastructure and making sure our infrastructure is safe So there is an increase of an engineer that I'm asking for. There's a lot of cybersecurity programs that we have that supports the infrastructure and the safetiness of our district, so that's also in the contractual. We have the backup and recoveries line item there, our student information system, our inventory system, and our fleet of printer support is all under the contractual. So you see a little bit of an increase there because of what we are adding with the edutech staff and also increasing our security on our infrastructure. The next one is the software budget. We see a little bit of a decrease, but really not a decrease. I'm transferring that money to contractual because we have GM software that supports our Mac Apple fleet. That's actually not an instructional software, it's an administrative software, so I moved that line item to contractual, so that's where you see that decrease. BOCES, and I know LHRIC is the Lower Hudson Regional Information Center. LHRIC is kind of like PNW BOCES, but the Southern Westchester BOCES. LHRIC offers a lot of the technology model schools program where we've been going to, actually yesterday we were at a STEAM play day with Meg, Kathy Holtzman, one of our other STEAM teachers next year. Margaret and I went there. They opened up the model schools and hope that they will join them next year. I've been part of model schools for my last 20 years of career at Carmel and Mount Pleasant. So a lot of technology workshops, a lot of districts that you work with and what other districts do, so you always have that relationship that you can build there. They offer a lot of training classes, a lot of conferences that we can participate. So the BOCES increase is really for, other than the contractual increases, the Model Schools program and the Tech Leadership Institute that we're signing up for. The supplies budget is actually decreasing. It's actually decreasing quite a bit because I've talked about the 3 elementary schools that are getting new interactive panels. The installation for those panels usually get paid out of the supplies budget. So we're paying, hopefully, this year out of our current budget. So that's where you see that decrease in supplies line item. So again, the final line item is our lease details. So I talked about how we're kind of put behind because of COVID with our refresher cycle every 5 years. So next year or this summer, refresher cycle is going to be our high school, all the workstations, the middle school, 2 computer labs, and the 3 elementary school interactive panels. So overall, my budget is actually increasing by 9.1%. So that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions? Just as a point of clarification, so under LHRIC, the Model Schools program, is that like professional development? Am I understanding that right?
It's it is professional development for our teachers because we have tech coaches in the district. Even the technology retreat, I know Bill was there for the technology retreat. One of the things that we constantly hear is our tech coaches are not trained to turnkey the training. So they're learning on their own, but this would be an opportunity for them to try out new technology. Like we saw a lot of new technology yesterday that we usually wouldn't get to see that through PNW BOCES. So, and you also get to work with a lot of these Southern Westchester BOCES area in a collaborative setting. So it is the PD, but also a lot of keynote speakers come in and talk to us about it. We attended an ActiveCon that talks about, how we use our space that we utilize. So it's actually bringing us to kind of like the 21st century, what everybody is doing, and instead of bringing in a speaker for ourselves, like the cost is like $3,000 to $5,000 to bring somebody in. This is like that collaborative model where all the districts go there and we get to attend that conferences.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Bill.
I think this one is more for Enrique. I know I've asked this on other presentations that we seem to be going over 2% on several of these presentations, and this one more than by a little percentage-wise. Is the whole budget still pulling together? Including, we keep seeing large, but when you do the summary, it doesn't seem as nearly as big as the presentations increases.
I agree. So what I showed you before includes the $2,106,000. We have huge increases like this one, but on the other hand, we have huge decreases like debt, ERS, but maybe in our next board meeting, I'll bring you a summary of the biggest increases and decreases that you can, like that you will be able to see it and feel comfortable.
How they offset each other.
I understand your point, but all the numbers that you're seeing are baked into my final number. But I understand your point because we've seen a couple of large increases. What I'm going to do next time is bring you, I don't know, the 10 largest increases and decreases so you can see how one offsets the other.
Okay. Thank you, Enrique.
No, thank you.
Other than that, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, I have one question. So the contractual details, this seems to be the largest driver for our budget increase for technology. Just to clarify once again, most of that increase is for another engineer, is that correct?
There is engineer, but also under cybersecurity and data privacy. We currently have a network where students are bringing in their own devices, but we haven't really announced you can bring your devices. So at the high school level, I've been talking to Mr. Mackin about our upper grade students, the ability for them to bring their own devices, because the students, when they get to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, they have their device. Chromebook is not enough, right? That's all we can supply. But I want them to start, if they're engineering students, I want them to bring their laptop or their MacBook. So in order to support that structure and properly announce that we can support your BYOD, I want to make sure our network, you cannot just bring in your laptop and just connect to a port and have an issue. So that's the security that we're building in. So there is quite a bit of increase in the cybersecurity area because we're strengthening our infrastructure.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your support.